128, longest consecutive sequence. Now the question is a medium level question, and it is saying that given an unsorted array of integers, so the example we have here is 100, 4, 200, 1, 3, 2, return the longest length of the consecutive elements. And we have a constraint here saying that we have to write this in linear time. So just by looking at the example here, we can see with our eyes that the longest consecutive sequence is 1, 2, 3, 4. But how do we do this programmatically? Since it's an array, we know we have to iterate. So, starting at 100, how do I know where this 100 is in the sequence? Is it the beginning? Is it the end? Is it the middle? Are there other numbers that contribute to an increasing sequence? So, for example, if we had 100, 101, 102, 103, and we started at 100, we know that this is the beginning of a sequence because there's nothing less than 100. If there was 99, it would be not the least, or not the start of the sequence, but because 99 is not in the array, there's no number that is less than 100. We know that 100 is the beginning of the sequence. Now, say, for example, if 99 was in the sequence, then we would start at 100, and here we'll ask ourselves, is there a number that is 1 less than 100 here? Well, there is. So then we would go to 99. And is there a number that is 1 less than 99? And here, there's nothing that's 1 less. There are numbers that are less, but nothing 1 less. So 99 would be the start of the sequence. And you can see how I need to look up the values in this array, right? Which means we probably need a map. So using the example here, I will give you a set here with 100, 99, 4, 200, 1, 3, and 2. That's the set that we need to create from our nums array. And starting from the first index, or the 0th index, we have our current number is 100, and our max sequence initiated as 1. So if there is a number that is below 100, we know that 100 is not the start of the sequence. So we'll ask ourselves, is there a number that's below 100? Well, there is 99, so we don't do anything and we move on to the next index. Now the current number is 99. Is there a number that is 1 below 99? There isn't, so what we do is then we ask ourselves, okay, we've reached the beginning of the sequence. Is there a number that is 1 above 99? And there is, it's 100. So let's set the current number to 100 and we'll increase our max sequence by 1. And then we move on because at 100, right here, we're seeing, is there a number that is greater than 100 by 1? There isn't. And we've ended our loop here. So we are iterating through the values here. And when we find a starting point of the sequence, we need to ask ourselves what contributes to increasing the sequence. Is there a number above 99? Is there a number above 100? And once we get to that limit, we'll move on. So starting at 4, is there a number that is less than 4? And there is. So we keep moving on to the next index. At 200, is there a number that is less than 200? Well, there isn't, and this is the only sequence that there is. So we move on, and now here we are at 1. So is there a number that is 1 less than 1? We check our set, and we know that there isn't. So we know that this is the beginning of a sequence. And now we ask ourselves, is there a number that is greater than 1? And in fact, there is, which is 2. So we set our current number to 2, and now we ask ourselves, okay, is there a number that is 1 greater than 2? And it's 3. And we increase our max sequence. We're increasing our max sequence as we go along. Now we ask ourselves, is there a number greater than 3 by 1? And there is, and it's 4. And finally we ask ourselves, is there a number greater than 4? No, there isn't. So we end this loop and we move on to the next index and so on. So let me show you how the code looks like. The first thing that we can do is just say that if the variable that we've given is null or has a length of 0, right? There's nothing in this array. What we want to do is just return it, return 0. Now, the next thing is we want to create that set that we were talking about where it records the occurrences of the numbers that are in this nums array. And we do it with our JavaScript set function. And then we'll have a max, which is setting to 0. And this would be the return value, because we want to know what the max consecutive sequence would be. So as we said earlier, let me just make a little comment, right? So if there was a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we want to iterate through each of these. So let's just say let num of nums, or actually no, sorry, let num of the set that we've created, because we can iterate through this. Now we're saying that if that number has, so if there's a number that's less than the current number that we're at, right? So that means it is not the start of the sequence. What we want to do is just continue through it. We're going to skip that altogether. Now, otherwise, we're going to say, okay, the current number that we're at is going to be num, and our current max is now equal to 1. We've started it. And now that we know that we are in the beginning of the sequence, because there's no other number that is less than it, we want to look upwards, or incrementing. So let's say if the set has a current number that is greater than itself by 1, we're going to increment here, and our current max is also going to be incrementing. So we're going to keep looking up, and if there's a number that is higher and higher, right? So let's say we start at, let's say at 5, right? We're saying, okay, does the set have a number that is less than 5 by 1? Yes, it's 4, right? So we continue, and now we're at 4. We're at 3, we're at 2, we're at 1. At this point, there is no number that is less than itself by 1, and we start looking upwards. Is there a number that is greater than itself by 1, right? Does the set have it? Yes. So we'll increment and increment the current max. And then finally, what we want to do is just say, okay, let's get the max value here and the current max, just like that. And finally, we'll return our result. And let's run that. All right, and this is the solution to our problem longest consecutive sequence. So if you have any questions, anything that's unclear, please leave it in the comments. It helps me a lot. Thank you.